In this video, I'm going to walk through how I built this NFL betting model using ESPN's new Football Power Index data. Hello everyone, Jonathan here at Excel Help Now. So ESPN changed the game on us this year with their FPI data. Used to be embedded in their daily lines page. Now it's its own separate page, which is to our benefit. They did this as a result of taking over ESPN Bet. But that's okay. We're going to make a betting model out of it, and I think it's going to be super robust and really helpful to identify some good bets to place. This is what I've built out. I'm going to show you how to create something very similar yourself, and it's pretty quick too, actually. So we're going to go to ESPN, show you where we're going to get our data. So ESPN's homepage, we'll click on NFL, and I'm just going to show you on the odds. This is where last year the FPI was. It was in percentages. So you would have 100%, you'd have a fair line be next to this money line. And this is when Caesars was providing the odds. Now that ESPN has this ESPN Bet platform, they have done away with that, and the odds are just going to be what they're offering. That's okay. They now have this Football Power Index. If you go to the More option, and it's going to bring up a really cool page that has sorted by highest to lowest FPI, Football Power Index, the teams, their offensive defensive rating, and it's going to have the corresponding ranks, strength of schedule. So it's really good information. We just go down to the bottom, just get a sense of what this FPI is. It's what ESPN is saying is the best predictor of a team's performance going forward. And it represents how many points above or below average the team is. If you look on the offensive, that's the offensive contribution to expected points margin versus average opponent on neutral field. And then the defense is the same except from the defense perspective. So that's all we need is basically just to copy this into a model. We'll pull in the FPI, the offense and defensive values, and we can build a complete spread, money line, and total betting model off this. So I would suggest going to the bottom, selecting everything up till the team is highlighted there. Do a Control-C. Go over to Excel and just be consistent where you copy it into your Excel page. Do a Control-V. It's going to bring it in, and it's going to bring in all the icons related to each team. If you do Control-G, it's going to bring up your go-to special. Click More and then do Objects, and it's going to select every single one of those. Do Delete, and that gets rid of those if you don't want those on your page. And it's going to stack the teams, unfortunately, above the table. You can just do a quick cell reference. So make sure you just copy in the same place each time. And then your cell reference will bring in, as the rankings change throughout the year, it'll dynamically bring in the new team. And you can see we have our FPI column here, our offense and defensive, nice, cleanly brought in. So what I have here on the NFL tab is I've just created a lookup. I've put in the matchup. So Ravens, Chiefs. Bringing in that 4.8 and 5. Go back to our values. Chiefs at 5, Ravens at 4.8. So just doing a simple VLOOKUP off the team name and the corresponding, so the third column in my FPI tab. And then I've got the sixth column for offense and then the seventh column for defense. So if you want to create this yourself, just do simple VLOOKUPs to pull in the three categories we need. And I've went ahead and marked the away and home for every matchup, because this is at a neutral field, if you remember that definition. So we need to add an adjustment for home field advantage. A couple ways to do that. You could just do a static value for every team. Just say home field advantage is anywhere between, I would say an average of 1.5 to 2 is a pretty good baseline. Or you could do team specific. I will put a link in the description to this site I found. I have no affiliation here, but I really like this NFELO page. Has the summary of home field advantage for NFL over last season, last 3, last 5, and then all time. Then you can also get team-specific values as well. So I went ahead and copied this into my model, and I'm looking at the team-specific ones, but you could just put a flat value in if you want. For each team, that 1.5 to 2 is a really good range. So I did that. I just put in a separate tab, HFA, home field advantage, and just did a sort all time by the stadium with the most home field advantage down to the least. So you can play around with that, figure out what you like to do. But let's say we pull in the all-time value, and Arrowhead for the Chiefs, 2.34 points to the margin. So what I did was just take my FPI difference, 4.8 and 5. So Chiefs have a 0.2 FPI advantage. And then you add in your home field advantage to that. So 0.2 plus 2.34, that rounds to 2.5 as a favorite. Here's the formula I'm using. There's this M round function within Excel that does not work with negative values. So you kind of have to be fancy and look at absolute values. And then I added some additional logic to multiply by either -1 or 1 after I've rounded it to the half point increment. You're free to just take that formula right there if you've got it structured similarly to how I have it, so you can get that to come in perfectly, because we know spread values are either going to be in half or whole increments. So it's best to go ahead and convert that now so you can do some lookups and line shopping off that. Let's look at some negative values just to make this FPI number make a little bit more sense. So Vikings, Giants, both those are negative, -2.5, -3.7. We see the away and home. Giants are going to bring in a 1.59 points adjustment for being at home. FPI difference -2.5 is 1.2 points higher, greater than 3.7. So we see that adjustment here. And then we add in our home field advantage of 1.59, gets us to an ending spread value with the Vikings slightly favored at -0.5, and then the Giants at home, an underdog at 0.5. So you can take that formula and drag it down for each of the matchups, and you'll have your spread value, and you can do your line shopping off this. And something I've already noticed whenever I built this was this Cardinals-Bills matchup. You can see the Bills have an FPI advantage of 6.1, and then we add in, let's say, 2.28 or 2, whatever your home field advantage adjustment is, around an 8.5 spread value is what ESPN FPI is rating them at. To look at the lines for week 1 for that Bills-Cardinals matchup, you can see the opener was -7. Sportsbooks are offering between 6.5 and 5.5. So a lot of value right now in that Bills game. And let's go ahead and plug in this -5.5 spread on DraftKings at -115 odds. And I'll have a link in the description. I did a video on the spread value. It's completely free. You can grab this. So we pulled in that -8.5 using our model. DraftKings is valuing that at a -5.5 spread. So that movement from -8.5 down to a -5.5 spread is worth 39 points, or a fair odd of -139. Well, the -115 is much longer than -139, so that's a very high expected value bet. I have that built into the model here. This is what a fair odds would be, that -8.5 spread, but we're getting a 5.5 line at -115. So expected value percent of 8.76%. And this is where we had that line move at a -39, which corresponds to a -139 fair odds. So anything longer than -139 would be a positive EV bet for the Bills. So if you're looking for a week 1 bet, I would say Bills covering the spread at home versus the Cardinals. Great play. So that's how to do that. You can look through all the matchups. This is going to give you a lot of good betting opportunities. And you can take that spread value and convert it to a money line win percent. Pro Cappers has a really cool, pull it over here, spread to win percent conversion table. And you can just basically take your 8.5 point spread that we looked at for the Bills, and we can see that's an 80.3% win percent. Go back to the model here. You can see that 80.3 coming in there for the Bills. And that corresponds to -408 fair odds for Moneyline. So I'll have a link to this in the description. You can copy in a spread conversion table that'll convert your spread values to Moneyline. And you can see these total equal 100. So those are fair odds that you can line shop off of. So we've quickly covered spread and Moneyline. The last piece is the over-under, our totals. And so the starting point there is, again, I've got a link in the description. This is a free model, but I pulled in 24 years of data for game outcomes for points, and the weighted average point for all NFL games is around 44.1. I've got that pulled in here. So if that's our base, again, this is all based on neutral field with plus or minus point adding or subtracting for offense. So if we take 44.1 as our base, and then let's take this offense, so 2.6, that's going to add 2.6 points to that 44. Defense, 1.9, that's going to take away. So their defense is above average, so that's going to reduce the point output. So the net effect of that is 0.7, 2.6 minus the 1.9. And I'm doing the same here. So the Chiefs going to add 4.1 points, and their defense is going to take away 0.7. So the net effect of that is a 4.1 addition to our average. So let's say that gets us to an over-under total of 48. And so that's going to work for every matchup. You can see the Vikings here, minus 2.5 offense, and then a break-even defense. So you're going to decrease your average NFL point by minus 2.5. And then the Giants, they're negative for both. So you're going to subtract 2.5, and then you're going to add 1.3 for your defense, get you to net minus 1.2 point adjustment. So that's how to think about that and read that. So it's really simple. I mean, we could take 44 and then add and subtract based on the offense defensive ratings, and you're going to get all your over under totals here. And these are all very reasonable values. So I felt really good as I went through and built this. That makes a lot of sense of the outputs I'm getting. And again, you can do your line shopping. You can use this model where you can look at your current value. This is what the model's going to tell you your over-under is, see what the sports books are offering, see what that fair movement is, and see if it's a positive EV bet or not. So I hope everybody found this helpful. I know ESPN kind of changed the game with us as the new formatting, but I think it's for the better. I really liked the FPI. Just for me, it makes a lot of sense of how they've structured that data and the fact that we can take it, convert it to a spread, convert it to over-under, and then also convert it to Moneyline. Gives you a full betting example. I will have a link in the description to this model if this interests you and you like the math, you like the logic, but don't want to go build it yourself. I'll have that. Otherwise, I'll have links to the 2 videos I did on these free spread and total half point converters. I think they're really helpful. And I'll have some links to what I use for the home field advantage and that Moneyline conversion table. So otherwise, thanks for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing, and God bless.